What's happening, everybody? Anarka Akaza back at you. I know this turtle's been in hiatus for a while, but life is life. I am with one of my brothers. This is the second interview we've done this year, but the first interview was longer than a Netflix series on the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. But who are you?
My name is Jacob Kussmaul. I've been doing music on and off since about 2004, and I'm a one man band. I do all the instruments, guitar, bass, and vocals. Drums I program, but I'm still arranging them in my own way, so it kind of counts. And that's pretty much who I am. One man band stuff. My sound is pretty much alternative, very angsty, very meandering, kind of grungy, kind of shoegazy, little bit of everything. But I'm glad to be in the company, though long distancely, of Brandon, Mr. Anarka Akaza. Thank you so
Yupper
much for having me
duppers.
on, man.
I'm glad I get the second chance to interview you again because, so to explain to everybody, my MacBook here decided that it was a good idea to die.
Conveniently,
Yeah, like literally, um, my wife ordered a pizza earlier, and I was watching some YouTube videos. I closed it, and then I came back to it, and it was stuck in the recovery. And I'm like, is it true that you just released an EP?
oh, yes, I did.
You should talk about that.
Oh, cool. So this EP is called Starfall, one word, and it's a collection of songs that I released back in 2014, but it's still relevant today. It's still good enough to drop, and the reason that I re-released this is because it's still relevant to like what I'm going through today. Even though as like an angsty 23-year-old at the time, I'm 35 now, but a lot of that shit
He's an
is
old
still
man.
relevant.
I've listened to it about 11 or 12 times because I'm working on a review of it, and my favorite song on there is probably "This Guilt." And that's because explain that song, and then I'll go into why I like it so much.
This guilt is about the crossroads that I um, unfortunately came into with my ex girlfriend. At that time we were kind of growing distant from me. She had a little bit of a problem where we were getting to a point where we were kind of impatient, and she more than I was willing to go the long haul as long as our relationship was good. But basically, what she told me was, because we were so long distance, she said, "We got to be realistic, Jake. We can't imprison ourselves in hope." And this is what this guilt is about. It's me feeling guilty that I showed up in her life at all.
Nah, you don't ever gotta feel guilty about that. Hussies do what hussies do. Eventually, you're gonna find a girl that'll do it right. I love that song because like, it makes me think. I've been with my wife since 2016, married since 2019, decade. And the line about imagining her with someone else, I couldn't imagine my wife being with someone else. I'd rather die than even think about that. Your new EP is called Starfall, released on Jam Lemon Records, right?
Yeah,
The label.
correct.
We're label mates, y'all. We're label mates.
Yeah, we're label mates.
It's 6 songs. Do you have a full-length album in production, or what's your plans after Starfall?
Um, After Starfall, I do have a full length album that I think I'm going to redo from the ground up rather than just recycle those songs. I'm going to redo them fresh, but the proposed album that was like put on the back burner was called Dangerous and Strange. So this is
Oh,
an exclusive for Anarka audience. This is
dangerous and
dangerous and
strange.
strange.
I
Yeah.
like that.
It's all about like losing myself, finding myself again, but still, you know, dealing with, the demons while I'm putting myself back together. So that's what the full length is about. It has a couple of songs on there that I've tooled around with like once or twice acoustically, but I think it's gonna be like all electric. I remember you said your friend was talking about, from what he was alluding to with the arrangements of
Yeah,
the first track, Warm, because it has three different tempos. And I'm glad that he really caught on to that song because, that was kind of that was kind of my cozy song. Warm
oh,
is kind of
I'll even allude on that too because I'm working on a review of it, which it will be out this week. Although
yeah.
My MacBook having issues. It's on my iPhone, and I don't trust computers anymore. They're the devil.
Yeah.
But Jake just said that he has to reconstruct his album. Well, I have to reconstruct the album that I was supposed to release this week because I'm having some PTSD over here over this. My MacBook's laying there like, yeah, I died. Fuck you then.
Mhm.
But I love Starfall EP because you can feel the passion in it, your energy, the rawness. And as I was talking to you last night on the phone, and sorry I keep moving back and forth that light bulb above my head, and I don't get along when I film in here. When I was listening to your album, and I was telling you this last night, was Starfall recorded in a professional music studio, or where was it recorded?
It was recorded in my bedroom. It was recorded in my bedroom that I had back in New York, where I lived for
He's a Beastie Boy.
yeah, 26 years of my life before I moved to Florida, which I am at now. But yeah, it was just like a bedroom kind of setup, and it was really janky because my dad had professional equipment as far as microphones were concerned because he used to work in the audio department in Sony. He was a product manager back then, so he would get good deals on equipment or like good prototypes of, like, things that were just coming out at the time. But the thing was, because this microphone had its days, it's a
At its days.
professional top of the line recording a piece of equipment, but this microphone was very temperamental. So had I recorded those vocals on a day like prior to, sometime in March and late February when I was recording that song, it would have sounded very different and, dare I say, considerably worse. And you wouldn't have gotten the clarity that you hear on this EP. So I'm very blessed and lucky to have gotten those takes overall.
And the reason I asked him that's because when I listened to it, so y'all know me, that like 95% of my interviews are punk rockers and hardcore kids, and my own music is experimental noise, and 90% of my music was recorded in my car with my phones in the other room, but I would go out in my car, I'd put my amplifier behind my seat or in front of my seat, and I would, you've probably seen my Instagram videos. None of
Yeah,
my shit's recorded in a
it is
studio.
like MacGyver and a half. It is just like total, like, do it your own thing. Like, yeah,
Literally.
do it yourself.
And as he was saying about the microphones working or not working, when you listen to my music, you'll hear this. But sometimes it
The
depended on where I
microphone
was.
maybe will cut out, right?
Well, not just that, but it depends on where the hell I'm positioned at. Because
Right.
if it fucking rains, oh god, if it rains, it's over with.
Oh
But
no, yeah.
there's times where I put my iPhone like on my center console, and my amplifier would be like behind it, and I'd be singing, and all you would hear is my noisy guitar. And
Oh man.
yeah, but that's get hours of that shit.
So
But
you would have like essentially background ambiance, bleeding
yeah,
into what the vocals that you were trying to record. Wow, that's something.
in parts of your EP, the
Okay.
vocals did sound a little bit in the background, which
Yeah,
I
yeah,
admired that because that's very punk rock right there. And Circle EP is not a punk rock album at all, but it's got the elements of it. It's got
yeah.
this whole. raw, aggressive passion to it. And Jake, you can sing.
No.
You can sing. I cannot sing. Rob's watching this like Anarka. Cute up.
Yeah,
But no, really.
guys, guys, sing, brother, sing. He can do it. He just has his own kind of style. But yeah, it's like I had to at that time depend on a good day to record, you know, those vocals because the clarity is like very intermittent. Had like I said, had I recorded on a different day, the thing would potentially not work at all. So it was really a gamble to get this EP thing. Now, Brandon, you commented, and that's a good thing to bring up. You commented on an aspect of the EP where my vocals are positioned differently as the album progresses. And that
Yeah, I
is,
noticed that.
yeah, that's because I was still like figuring out the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals of production. So if you could hear by Warm, the first track, Warm, my vocals as well as the guitars are like extreme front and center. I even have my vocals in stereo. And little did I know, properly recorded vocals have to be in mono to make room for everything else, to
I didn't
balance
even know
out
that.
everything. Yeah. Yeah, neither did I. But in some way, it loses its punk rockness from like actually learning the proper ways to do it. But then, it gets easier to balance everything out. But then, like, by I think the track Rebels is where I sort
Oh, I
of
love that
kind of,
one.
yeah, I blend my vocals in with the instrumentation a lot better, you know.
Who
You
are
like Rebels?
who are your musical influences in regards to putting this out EP together?
Yeah, I was really into like Hum. Like you remember Hum? They did that song back in the '90s. '95, they had a song called Stars. It's like she thinks she missed the train to Mars. She's out back counting stars. And like a lot of bands in that similar vein. Like
That
there
Jake
was,
Snaker is very
yeah,
90s.
yeah, '90s. This fucker here, he interviewed Spore, which I'm still jealous of. Spore is one of my favorite '90s groups, underground '90s groups. But
Fear me,
anyway,
I'm God. Fear me, I'm
yeah,
God.
Lee Fisher's got a job working at the store. Yeah, but yeah, I love like everything from that very underground Tang record sound to like more Chicago style like Smashing Pumpkins and Catherine and then Champagne Urbana. You have like Hum and Poster Children and Honcho Overload. I was very into those bands. And in fact, the way I structured my song Warm is I'll tell you this right now. This is like you heard it here first and blatantly confessing my influences. That's basically Curious by Sandbox. You can listen to that and that's Warm. That's where Warm comes from.
You
The
know,
whole
honest,
framework is Curious by the band Sandbox.
honest to God, Red Isaiah from JLR.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When I had my short interview with him, when I asked him his influences, he struck me with a wild card when he said he's into Matchbox 20. Like that,
Oh, okay.
that's an artist that I haven't heard anyone talk about in a long time, and I was like, damn. And like that comment just threw me off guard for a second because I mean he said he likes Creed, but it's like Matchbox 20, huh?
Well,
That's
that
a
it's kind of understandable because like by like mid '90s, I mean Matchbox 20 when they first came out with songs like Push and Long Day from their first album, like it was like a lot more grungy compared to their later pop rock sound. So, for him to encompass that, that totally makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's
And in the
awesome.
same, yeah, in the same way, you know, I'm not ashamed to admit that, my first CD was Ricochet, Blink of an Eye, which is a country artist that, granted, I never heard from again, but
That's a
they
that
were
that's the
good for
first
what they
CD you
were.
ever got.
Yeah, my first CD was from the Sony store. I think my first two CDs were Ricochet, Blink of an Eye, and the Men in Black soundtrack.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Holy shit.
And then of course there was like Frog Stomp, Silverchair, and then the mini disc. Remember mini disc? That's very niche. But mini disc of Fight, which was Rob Halford's band after Judas Priest that he did in the '90s. But like a combination of all of that, like
It's awesome.
everything from like pop to metal to grunge to country and Spin Doctors too. Spin Doctors was
My very first ever CD, I got it. So in Ottawa, Kansas, my hometown, this is in the 90s, by the way. I was like 5 years old, but we had a
yeah,
game store called Games and Things, and they sold, I mostly bought Super Nintendo games there, but um, I went in there one day with my grandpa, and
yeah.
my first ever CD that I bought with allowance was AC/DC's Back in Black,
Oh,
and
that's
I
a good
still
one.
fucking have it. The
Woo!
1997 Atco reissue, because I liked listening to Hell's Bells and Thunderstruck, and
Bells,
so
bells.
I asked I can't remember the lady's name. She passed away a long time ago, but I was like, "Do you have Akadaka?" And she's like,
Yeah.
"Akadaka." My grandpa goes AC/DC. He calls it the Australian name, and she's like,
Oh,
"How old are you?" I was like 5 or 6. She looked at my grandpa like, you're okay with
I'm,
this?
I'm 6 years old.
And what's kind of fucking hilarious is that was my first one. Then my second CD, first was AC/DC Black and Black. Second one was Hot Dog and the Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water by Limp Bizkit.
My lip is skin.
And then my third CD was the Eminem Show.
Oh,
Yeah, three
so it's
different
kind of
dynamics.
it's sort of like a similar mix, Brandon and I are only a couple of years apart, but it's interesting how it's a similar kind of dynamic mix where what we're exposed to, it goes like very like all over the place. So yeah, for this album it was like, of course I still acknowledge my formative influences, but then, the as far as like my teenager, early 20s influences, I guess that's what really kind of comprised this EP in particular. And yeah, it sticks with like a heavy sound that's also kind of dreamy and
It's
also
very
kind of,
dreamy.
yeah, harmonious and like I said, it's meandering too. There's a lot of like imperfections, a lot of like
But
inconsistencies
that's
in
what
what
makes
I
it good, though.
say.
That's what keeps it human. And I was actually
Yeah.
going, and you're gonna notice this in my review of it. So y'all know when you're at a rock and roll show, they turn the lights off and you put the lighters up. One of the nights that I was recording my review of Jake CP, I was having some horsey, and
Oh
I was
man.
just because I've been having a lot of issues in Baguio lately with the power outages and financial stuff and shit. But
Yeah.
when I started bawling over this guilt, I pulled out a lighter and I turned my lights off and I started swaying the lighter back and forth with my eyes closed to his music.
Oh
Because yes, Jake's music is very passionate, very dreamy, very uh mild fever dream. But it's
yeah.
it's 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 the stuff you can just kind of put on and relax to.
Yeah.
And that's
That's,
what I really dig about it. Jake has cerebral palsy. And for those
yeah.
of you who don't know what that is, Jake, can you explain what that is? To
Yeah.
like the 2% of people that don't know what that is.
All right, yeah. Well, it's been long enough, hasn't it? This condition is probably 300 or so years old, but yeah, it's an incredibly common condition. In my case, I was born 3 months premature by an interventricular hemorrhage, and I got a brain bleed. And what cerebral palsy is, it's a brain injury that causes a disconnect between your brain and your muscles. So there's three types of cerebral palsy. The most common, which I have, is spastic, and then there's ataxic, and then there's dyskinetic. And ataxic spasticity, the one I have is like where your muscles are very kind of stiff and tight. The affected sides. And some people have difficulty talking, other people have difficulty walking. But, on the contrary to what a lot of public opinion, gets wrong, is it's not a genetic condition, and it doesn't involve paralysis. It's just like tightness and stiffness of the muscles. And then there's the ataxic kind where your legs are like kind of spaghetti legs, and then dyskinetic is where your body kind of moves involuntarily, and you have to kind of muster all of this energy within you to exert
Yeah.
this many words. And for those whose muscles in their mouths are more effective, they had or I should say affected, they have difficulty communicating. And you might like hear me and think, oh, it's relatively easy for me to communicate because I don't have that problem where my speech is like very labored, and I have to exert so much energy to get out like a handful, maybe a dozen words. But it still exerts like so much energy. So I literally have to calm myself down as I talk and not speak too high up here, because if I do, and I'm so energetic and gesticulatory, if you will, then I'll like lose my balance, and
Oh
I'll
shit.
like, I'll start moving around and potentially fall out of my chair. We don't
Oh
want that.
God. Yeah, please don't. I can't call 911 from the Philippines.
But
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hey
But
man.
yeah, it's like you really have to just kind of plan your movements out, as like it's like, how when you walk, it's like
Second nature.
very autopilot, it's
Yeah.
second nature for everybody. But with cerebral palsy, when you walk, it's like super manual. You have to plan out each step one at a time. One foot, the other foot, one foot, the other foot, one foot, the other foot.
Damn.
And like, you
The
know,
closest I
for
could compare to that is being fucking drunk out of my mind and just like
yeah,
laying
yeah.
there.
Well, you're right. You're right in a way, because in instances where communication is affected, so one guy can like speak like I'm speaking right now, and the other guy can speak
Well,
like
not
this,
just
and it
that, but
sounds like
like
he's drunk.
another good comparison because I used to live in Los Angeles. I lived there a few times, and I love the Angeles National Forest. And I
Yeah,
fell down the fucking side of a mountain once, and I didn't become crippled from it, but for a moment I scuffed my legs up, and I could barely move my body,
yeah,
and
yeah. You've been wobbling,
I
right?
had to force my. I got hit by a Cadillac in 2020 in the Quad Cities. I had to like, push and force my legs. I had
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's probably what cerebral palsy like could be compared to. Just that really manual movement, one at a time.
Yeah,
Each.
I want people to understand this who don't know anything about the condition because this veers into my second question on this topic. Have you
Yeah.
performed live?
Yes, I have, but not in a very long time, because accessibility is a make or break sort of situation. And when I was performing just at like parties. It was accessibility, like getting me into like people's houses was kind of burdensome.
So you
And then
played a bunch
when
of house parties?
yeah when it, yeah when it's venue related, that's a completely different story because a lot of the stages aren't accessible.
No shit, they're not.
No.
I was just gonna
So
ask is like, what's it like to play live with that condition
yeah.
overall?
Oh, like, well, if I know if I were to play live, you know, just having cerebral palsy, I would need to have my guitar strap on so that it doesn't slip off me,
Yeah, that would suck.
and I would have to know songs that are like four chords or less. Otherwise, if I'm traversing the neck like the entire set, I would get so stiff and so like, you
Ugh.
know, my bones would be like super tight and super fatigued that I would have to like take a prolonged rest between like, each song.
Damn, that is interesting actually.
Yeah. So realistically, if I was to perform live and if I was doing two songs that I knew by heart, just two songs, that'd be fine.
Just
If
his
I was backed by a band, then that would be even gooder because,
sure.
I can just kind of focus more on singing rather than playing. But yeah, it's difficult to manage like guitar playing and singing at the same time, especially when you're still working songs out.
What's your and I ask this to every artist I interview as well. So whether you're playing live or you're playing music in your room,
Yeah.
what's your pre-game warm up for that? Like for me, for instance, I have a beer, or in the United States, I smoke a little bit of weed, and I just
Ooh,
what's your routine for getting ready to play music or record music? Like what do you eat? What do you drink?
I have a thermos of water somewhere, and my mantra for that is to just drink plenty of water without having a whiz marathon, but drink plenty of water just so your vocular ducts, as it were, are like super hydrated so that your voice is nice and clear so that you don't have to enunciate, as much. You might have heard of that song by um the guy. I don't know if it's a one guy or if it's a group or whatever, but it's this user on Bandcamp called Young Scrolls, and he did a like a song called Drink Water, and it's just a bunch of samples compiled of
Drinking
like
black
this guy,
coffee, drinking
and
black
it's like
coffee.
drink water, drink water, bitch, drink
I mean, that's a
water,
good
drink water.
that's a good rendition there because I
Yeah,
I
you
always
might have heard that song already.
I probably have at some point. In 2019, Youth of Today, the punk band.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
interviewed oh fuck, I forgot his name already, but one of the members of Youth of Today, not Ray Kappa, but the other guy. I didn't ask him that question, but he's the one that started this with me. Well, I asked him what's his routine for being on tour, and he's a big health and fitness guy, and he went into all the different foods and snacks and drinks and supplements that he uses. And so it kind of inspired me to ask that question because you would be surprised what the drinks in the mini fridge are. Like some people smoke weed, some people drink beer, some people go to Sonic, some like the
Now I'm just
routine.
scooching.
Like hell, one guy I interviewed a long time ago,
Yeah.
he does 150 push-ups before he goes on stage.
Whoa.
I'm always so interested to know like what is your makeup for just playing music, and I'll ask you this, but it's like, how often do you write music?
I write music kind of when I can. I don't use Word or anything. I use the I use wow, barely enough water, but
Is is that
something.
is that your thermostat right there?
Yeah, my thermos, not just a thermos, no thermostat, my friend. That is
I
the
don't know why I
top
asked
of
this.
Yeah, well, it just came naturally. But this is Kachaba protein shake that I used to get. I didn't get anymore,
Oh,
but I
protein
kept the
shake.
thermos. I
Oh,
kept the thermos. But
he's drinking
yeah,
from a
yeah, it's
thermostat.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, well, that's very interesting that he went through his whole routine because a lot of people, normally when you ask a question like that, they'd be like, "What pre-show ritual?"
But yeah, because like
Yeah.
everybody's got their warm up, and back when
Right.
I worked at American Eagle for about 10 years, you have to do your stretches, you have to do this, and
Yeah.
you're on stage. An artist is on stage for 30 minutes, hour-long set. It's like, do you down a couple of Monster energy drinks? Is it Red Bull? Do you smoke a
Oh,
little blunt? Like,
if
hey, what's
I
the
if
ratios?
I'll tell you this much, if I was to play like that intensive a set, and especially with my condition, with my whole body and my limited movements, I would I would have to down at least a couple of beers to get everything. Ironically, I ironically everything circulated because when I have a few beers in me, I'm like much more quick and cognizant.
Hey, that's why I drink Red Horse all the
It's
damn
so
time.
weird how that works, man. We both kind of function the same way.
Beer is one of the oldest drinks in the America was founded on beer because when the founding fathers landed, they landed because they ran out of fucking beer. The water was mucky back then because it's the 1700s. They landed because they ran out of alcohol, and so they had to land it on the mainland in order to just look it up, y'all. But beer is good for you, like fear says. But I asked
Mhm.
you this during the original interview, but you have a soccer monkey on your dresser.
Yeah. Well,
I love
I
soccer
have
monkeys.
shotgun red.
You
I have
do, and
shotgun
I have
red.
a shotgun red hat, but it's not with me in this video because it's in my
Oh
pocket.
man, no shotgun red hat, no boopity boopity boopity.
Oh
I
man,
love
yeah,
that.
Shotgun Red. Back in the day, he was legitimate. He used to be on TNN. He was co-star to Ralph Emery. Rest in peace, Ralph Emery, the great TV host slash singer.
Right.
And yeah, Shotgun Red. I first got into him when I started watching Steve Hall's cooking shows, and I noticed that back in the day he used to play this character, Shotgun Red. So I got interested in the Shotgun Red lore, and I got like his CDs and stuff. But that's another thing. Like inspiration can come from so many different sources. Like I mentioned about my very first country album, Ricochet Blink of an Eye. The country kind of element was kind of reinforced by finding out about Steve Hall and Shotgun Red. And,
Although I might not sing like Shotgun Red and have this sort of voice,
it inspires me sort of indirectly as far as like getting my ideas flowing.
Are you excited about eventually coming to the Philippines and playing live here
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And
and
I
finding a
want to.
girlfriend?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh,
Or
of
fuck no.
course, buddy, of course. But like, I would love to. Um, um, I would love to sing like Filipino songs like "Bananaso, Santong Gabayo, Natatawa ko hi."
I
And
told y'all he could sing.
close your eyes and rise as oceans. That's Wolfgang. Um,
Yeah, he
but
he
yeah,
interviewed a member of Wolfgang recently.
yeah, Wolf Amora. Like when they were doing their reunion tour, like wow, like the classic lineup, except like No Mon, may he rest in peace. But they held it down. They have the most rabid fans, I'll tell you that. And yeah, I love Wolfgang. It was a very entertaining conversation. Yeah, you can even link to that. My music
Absolutely.
existence interview with Wolf. It's very entertaining. He has a lot of great anecdotes of when he made the transition from Ivory Records to Sony. Like hilarity ensues, and you'll just love it. But yeah, Wolf is like one of the many interesting people that I've gotten to know and talk to in my sort of uh journey,
You're
my
okay.
journey with journalism. So like it's really been a blast, and I'm just telling you, like, the way this EP ends, with the song Drift, it's like
Good song.
um
Good song.
there's definitely more to come. I
That's
mean,
good.
that
I love
song
to
is
hear
about
that.
hitting a slump, and I actually did kind of hit a slump for like a pretty long time.
I'm in a
But
slump.
yeah, yeah, but we all kind of get through it.
That's the
Um,
human condition.
one of you, did you like any other favorite? Have any other favorite?
From the EP or other
Yeah,
artists.
yeah.
The song Starfall itself. I don't wanna see my star fall. I cannot sing like him,
Mhm.
but a good way I can describe the entire EP is it just has a lot of power to it. Obviously I don't have a lyric sheet, so all the lyrics I wasn't really. I pay a lot more attention to instrumental, and then the
Mhm.
lyrics come to me second, which is why I've listened to it about 11 or 12 times because
Oh,
the,
okay.
the first listen I'll get the chorus down, but I'm listening to the music. But yeah, Starfall, the song itself, warm has a beautiful embrace to it. It kind of gets you warmed up, essentially, to how the EP goes in with a passion. I'd almost say power pop to a way. Like there's a
Yeah, yeah,
Japanese band called Dolls Box.
yeah.
I don't know if
Dozbach.
you,
Yeah,
yeah, and I kind of compare your power and your stamina to them because the girls are in the red and black. They just let it
yeah, yeah,
out, and that's the best way I can describe the Starfall EP. Is all 6 songs are just you letting it out in
yeah,
the most powerful, dynamic of a way, and
yeah.
which leads me into this other question. I gotta talk about this. Jaker Snaker, you know I've knee deep in the Philippines with Twisted Red Cross and all those older stuff.
Yeah.
My buddy over here has a huge knowledge on 2 other Southeast Asian countries, Indonesia and Singapore.
Oh, yeah.
So, who are your favorite bands from those 2 countries? Why and what has you so infatuated with Indonesia and Singapore?
Back when I was doing like podcasts, just stumbling onto that, going on Mixcloud, I had this brief podcast series called Worldwide Alternative Rock, and I did um, 2 episodes, one on Singapore and one on Indonesia. And I did like for Singapore, I did like 2 record labels. I did Big O, and then which is Before I Get Old, which is like an indie label. It's like basically the
Damn.
Singaporean Sub Pop. And then Pony Canyon was the other label. And
Pony
then
Canyon.
Pony Canyon was is kind of like a Japanese. It's a
Yes,
Japanese owned label,
I know what that
but
is actually.
yeah, yeah. Pony Canyon is like more of a mainstream label, but they had a Singaporean branch called Skin for some reason. And I also made a latest and greatest um, podcast for Indonesia. Oddly enough, I can't really remember many of the bands that I featured on the Indonesian podcast, but
Opposition
I
Party.
yeah, Opposition Party is definitely a good Singaporean band. I love
Oh, there's Singapore. My bad. I
yeah,
thought they were Indonesia.
yeah, yeah. Well, Indonesia, you can say is like Gigi and Dewa 19. They're like big in Indonesia. My favorite Gigi song is Janji, and my favorite Dewa 19 song is either Kangen or Aku Milik Mu. Um, and like there's a treasure trove of just a lot of great bands, both classic and current. And I think I remember what sort of got me back into Indonesian music was one of my friends. I haven't contacted in quite a while, but I hope he's doing well. He got like very busy in his life, but his name is Oyi, and he's from this band called Grow Rich, and
I like that.
he sings in English, and he has like for percussion and drums like speed metal sort of drums. So it's like his dreamy and shoegaze and punk sort of style with the more extreme drums.
That's
So
nice.
like there's so much creativity everywhere. Like people don't I noticed, and you probably know this too, but people they don't really give the Southeast Asian
No, they don't.
countries like a thorough listen because
No.
they're always thinking of politics at the forefront. Politics, politics, politics.
Dictatorships, communism.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All of that.
Narcos, Narcos.
All this regime, all of that. And then meanwhile it like obscures like the music scene, the beautiful music that these countries are making, whether it's Singapore, whether it's Indonesia, whether it's like what Brandon was doing with his thorough research and understanding of the Twisted Red Cross scene in the Philippines. Like there's so much music to be listened to. In fact, like I just got in a more local sense, I got a cassette tape from this, not directly from them, but they're from a band from Gainesville, Florida. They're a band called Endolphin, and they were part of the same scene as River Phoenix back then when River Phoenix used to tour with his band Alaka's Attic back in the late 80s and early 90s. A lot of people didn't know that River Phoenix was in a band alongside his trajectory with movies. In fact, the bassist of Alaka's Attic, Sasa Hasid Raphael, he was saying that River Phoenix was not an actor. He was a musician with a damn good day job.
Do you know the band The Idiots from Indonesia?
No, I haven't heard them, but they're definitely separate from GI and the idiots, George Imbecile.
Yeah.
The idiot.
The Idiots I was told, which I've never been able to actually listen to them in depth because so I bought they're supposed to be the oldest punk rock band from Indonesia.
Ooh.
And I bought a cassette tape from a record label over there, and I got it, and the cassette tape was blank. No fucking,
Oh.
no fucking music on it. And unfortunately, I lost communication. I bought it on Discogs actually, and I reached out to the seller and I was like, "Hey, there's no music on this tape." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, bro." He refunded me, and I was like, "Well, no, can you send me another one? That is our last copy." I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that happened to me too, and it wasn't with a audio cassette though. It was a video cassette. There
"Oh
was this,
shit."
yeah, there was this. I've had subsequent luck with video cassettes have been like absolutely fine. I have a converter that digitizes those tapes. What I found was like it's kind of a gamble when you do cassettes of any kind. With this tape, this was part of a subscription service back in the 90s called Rock Video Monthly, and it had a specific music video that I didn't I didn't see for a very long time, and it was the video for "Unlucky Friend" by Dig. And recently, it's been found, and thankfully, I found a working archive full of those Rock Video Monthly
Hell
tapes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and someone had the July 1994 alternative rock tape. That when I got it, there was nothing on the tape. It was
Oh shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I would have fucking cried. When I
yeah.
interviewed first Solver, Dino Solver of Third World Chaos in 2023, before I moved to Baguio. So I've interviewed almost everybody from Twisted Red Cross, as Jake was mentioning, because I've done a lot of research on them. Dino was telling me that when Chaos was a band back in the 80s, there was some lost media, and for God's sakes, if any of you watching this have this on your computer or anywhere, please send it. I am broke, but I will find money and I will pay you. Chaos
Oh yeah.
did a Pepsi commercial.
Wow.
They did a Pepsi commercial. It wasn't their own music, but there's lost media is something that there's so much lost media out
Yeah,
there.
there's lost media. Me and Brandon are junkies when it comes to lost media. Lost media, whether it's video clips, there's the lost wave community, which is like finding unidentified songs. Remember the most mysterious songs on the internet? That was recently found. Anything, with the with an intensive search party can eventually be found. So
Current.
it's kind of like our era, but I remember we were talking about iCarly, but do you know another Nick show that was kind of had its own fan base was Ned's Declassified School
Oh
Survival
my
Guide.
God. There it
Yeah,
is.
and so they had, I thought someone would have posted the pilot of Ned's Declassified to YouTube. And like I was gonna watch it and have a bit of a laugh, but they switched the actor that played Cookie from the pilot, you know, and like it's two different actors. And I was like, well, that's kind of strange, but that's the nature of pilots, right? They're so unpredictable. Like you never know who's going to make the final cut. And in the same at the same time, when it comes to our music, like you never know what's going to make the final cut. Like I could have I think with the initial draft of Starfall lyrics, the verses definitely wouldn't have flowed properly. I had a lyric that I sang at the end that I initially drafted toward the beginning of the song, but then so it's kind of the same thing. Like you never know. Like you probably had songs, right, where you've had like stuff that you would do at the very end, and then that was like moved to the beginning, and then like vice versa, probably in your stuff, right?
Oh, all the damn time. All the damn time. And I was also gonna say, Evan, so I know y'all I've been on hiatus for a few years, haven't really been posting much, but one of my other biggest passions, and this goes into lost media, I'm a TV head. I love, and I don't mean just like modern TV, but from 2023 to 2025, I lived with my grandmother, and we would sit in the living room and watch antenna TV, old westerns and old black and white TV shows. And one day, we're watching The Rifleman and The Lone Ranger and Andy Griffith show. We did this nightly. And I
Hmm.
just got to thinking, what was the first TV show ever, just ever? And it turns out, I can't think of its name at the top of my head, but the very first televised programs in the US, they don't exist anymore because it was recorded in front of a live audience. So the very first TV shows in American history, we will never be able to see them. Now, there are later
Right.
episodes in the 50s, and so we can, but because
Yeah, all the stuff from like 45.
yes,
No,
the
that is
beginning
like,
of television, and I love television history. Like I was telling Jake earlier, I began on YouTube in 2007 because
yeah.
I saw iCarly on Nickelodeon, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever that a bunch of friends were making videos in their little studio and putting it on the internet. And I've just always been obsessed with that. It burns the soul when I discover something really good, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it doesn't exist.
Yeah. And you swear that it exists because just like that Ned's Declassified pilot, I remember seeing that pilot as a kid, like with this completely different actor, thick rimmed glasses, and,
It's the
and
Mandela effect.
yeah, and the girl confirmed in like Reddit because they have a single screenshot of the pilot. That's all that exists. You'd think clips of it would exist, but just a single screenshot. And I remember the girl who was in the group of friends, I forgot her name, but she was like, "Come on, Cookie, like get out of that jacket. You're gonna get heat stroke." And that was like part of the whole like episode. And I don't know, because like when Ned's Declassified aired officially, I don't think I kind of stayed around for that, save for like several episodes. But I didn't. I don't know if the first episode maintained its plot, but it's a similar kind of thing. Like you never know what you're gonna see, and what Brandon picked up from iCarly, it's like he kind of made into his own thing. It's completely, it's unpredictable in a way, but
Hell,
that's the beauty of it.
I look, my mom had this little fat digital Sony camera, and I was like, "Hey, mom, can I have your camera? Why? I want to do something." And I took your digital camera. My very first video on the YouTube was of Destroy All Humans 2. My neighbor Peyton at the time, he came over. I'm like, "Here, Peyton, record." And so we recorded about Ryan TV. We were making commentary. But some of my earliest videos were me taking the camera down to the river and chopping down trees, just doing random shit.
Oh
I just,
man,
I was obsessed.
those
One
little
thing on,
camcorders.
damn right. One last thing that I wanted to hit up on here because this is important. Jaker Snaker, you work for a company called Music Existence. What is that, my friend? For those who don't
Music
know.
Existence is an international online publication. So everyone, we have writers around the world. Main headquarters, it's out of Boston,
Boston.
Massachusetts. A guy named Steven. He's a great guy. And basically a lot of East Coasters kind of jumped on that. But as Music Existence kept growing, as things do, they we started like branching out. Like, oh shit, like someone from the UK wants to write, or someone from this part of like Europe wants to write. So then it became like something like that. But Music Existence, what I like about it is like you have so much free reign for like what you're able to, of course you have to keep it music related, but
Yeah.
just the genres and the people
So it's
and the
not genre specific
stories.
then.
Yeah, and there's stuff, there's other publications there that are strictly hip hop, strictly rock. You can have like pretty much anyone who has like a new kind of music release. They could even be writing a book, a publicist for a particular band, and you interview them about their process. Or it can be the guy who runs like an auction house. Like one of my early interviews was interviewing the president of Guernsey's auction house because he was doing a Duke Ellington exhibit.
Duke Ellington.
Yeah, like so he had like Duke Ellington suits that he wore, and like baby grand piano, and like I saw the auction. Obviously I wasn't in that location, it was like in a whole other state, but like I saw like they had like his piano, they had all of his composition sheets and like etchings of like ideas and everything. And also I interviewed like a guy who is like making like a music app, and then there was this guy from a music distributor called Holix. I interviewed him. The tagline of Music Existence is because of music we exist. And
Yeah, it's in the
basically,
name.
yeah, basically what it entails is more, it's not really like how did you like get started in music, or what agency placed you there, what people did you talk to, or how was the tour going. It was more like what was going through your mind as you were completing the tour, or like what was going through your mind during your initial etchings of like your first forays into music. For example, some people you'd find super embarrassed by their early efforts, or they would say, like, no, even then, I thought I had something. And then they would go into, the story time where, they would show a little vulnerability, and they would say, I knew I had something, but I just didn't know how to channel it. And then
Yeah,
they
I've
would
been
go into
there.
their struggles, and then but also, you know, at the end of the interview, when I wrap it up, I say, what have you learned about yourself, not only as a musician, but as a person? So, like, that's like kind of, it's a nice wrap up, but it also leaves it very open ended. So they actually have to think at like the very end of like to kind of sum up their life as a whole. But yeah, that's what music existence is. It's like getting into the roots of not just how people make music, but how people feel during that music process.
And how did you become a part of it?
It was just kind of by accident. I mean, back when I was in college, I thought I was going to graduate, but I just had this one credit. There was a class that I forgot to take, and like long story short, one of the ladies there working in there got me into like a journalism course, and I was like, journalism, but then I was like, well, I like music, and then I was like, why don't I write about like music and like music trends and what's like in at the moment, what's dying out. And a lot of people resonated with that too. And then through that, through all those, through the traction that I had in my college, writing for my college paper, I used those as like my entry level writing samples for music existence, and they loved that. And then I went on, and like kind of the rest is history. I just kept plugging away, kept going at it, and like I'm just blown away every time I connect with somebody. Like they have like 20 different mutual friends of all these people that I've interacted with from music existence, or like people that I interviewed, or bands that I've interviewed. It's amazing. So like I've officially kind of gotten my foot in the door, so to speak,
Well,
or
I'm
my
glad you're happy
wheel in
with it,
the
man.
door.
And I've watched a handful of your interviews on there, including the one that I edited. Yeah, Jake's a really good. I've been on hiatus for a while, and I feel like this interview is actually going really good. But Jake is a fucking professional at what he does, and not just a professional like MTV and stuff like that. The last person that I interviewed like this was Sammy McBride of Fang in 2023.
Mm.
I haven't conducted an interview in 3 years.
Oh.
Sammy McBride of Fang, Sticky Wife Beater, the Mentors, rest in peace to Sticky, passed away.
Yeah.
Spore. 2023 was the last time that I really did anything like this,
Oh
and I'm
wow.
getting back into the game. And for all of you who have been watching it to this point, really appreciate it. I don't want to keep this going on much longer because I'm about to fall the fuck asleep over here. But
Yeah.
Jake or Snaker, is there anything else you would like to say to the world, to my audience, to your audience, to Robert
Well, I
Haza?
appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Brandon, and like I'm glad to be in your corner. I'm glad to have you in my corner in the same way. And people just you know continue listening to my music. When you see an interview that I post, every like, every comment, it means the world to me. Just keep it going, keep the mutual support going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just be on the lookout for anything that I post, whether it's music or interviews.
Where
I'll
can
keep
people
you
find
guys
your stuff
updated.
at?
Search me up on YouTube. You type either Jake the Man 091, Jake the Man 091, or Jake Kussmaul. You can see like a bunch of my interviews that I have. I also have an archive channel where I post rare music. You can find that when you type in famous or forgotten music, and it's all different genres, all different decades from all different countries, all this rare stuff. So it's either rare gems or kind of mainstream music that was popular once but then became obscure over time. And the goal is to kind of keep a solid community going while also, most importantly, expanding the music circulation. And then it's with that channel, it's right now it's over 10,500
Oh,
subscribers strong. So a lot of people I've noticed are really tuning into the playlist. They love the playlist setup for these albums. And someone wanted me to, I don't know if I would, if this is just for the future, but they wanted me to just make one playlist of every single thing
oh,
that I've uploaded. But I'll probably have it separate it into different categories. But yeah, that's me. You can find me, like I said, Jake the Man 091 or Jake Kussmaul for my main account, and for my music archive, that's famous or forgotten music.
and you can also find
That's
them on
it.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the social medias. All of
Yeah.
those links will be in the description below, and a link to listen to his music will be in the description. All of this man's stuff still be in that description box, and you can also go to jamlemonrecords.com and musicbusiness.com and fuck yeah. Any last
Yeah,
word?
man.
Any last words for the world? You out.
Just keep on rocking and
Vote.
getting a kick in the ass with the Red Horse
That was
Beer.
me. Yeah, just one last comment here on my next album. Well, I have four albums coming out. One of them is called Brainurism, and me and Jake have collaborated on a handful of songs, including one metallic, noisy, punky, dream morphy song about this shit right here.
Yeah, Red Horse. Yeah.
Anyway, brother, thank you
All
so
right.
much.